Can I start nice and say that you're on mute, just to go with the vibe that we had in the last 5 years or something like that?
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Welcome,
Yeah.
everyone. So good to see you here. Um, yeah, thanks for inviting me, Bogdan. You came up with this amazing concept. So let's not let people down today. We're gonna dive right in. As you probably know, my name is Marijn van Buuren. I'm founder of Event-ually, and I'm here together with Bogdan and Maran, founder of Visual Hive.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. And hello, Nathan. I can see there that you've jumped on, and hi, Andy, as well. We've got people watching us, which is something new, and this should be fun. So let's start with telling people who we are, although most people know us, but who are you, Mariah? Where are you coming from? What have you done, and why are you here?
Well, I think the main reason I'm here is because I've been a big tech enthusiast for quite a while now. Obviously, started within the event industry in the physical event space, but during the whole pandemic, that shifted to more virtual. I decided to help more companies embody that virtual and help them with the transitioning from physical to virtual. And in that, I encountered a lot of different technology suppliers, and also the fact that there are so many of them. We barely know where to get started in doing the research. So that's where the idea for Event Mender came on. Work together with over 100 virtual and hybrid event platforms slash planning software, ticketing software, you name it. And that's where I got introduced into really event technology. And that's where my passion and expertise comes from. How's that for you, Bogdan?
Uh, Not as sexy, and unfortunately, not. I'm old enough to have a previous life. No, but I used to be. I'll quote Nathan because I know Nathan is here, and he said hi. And me and Nathan go a while back, and he has the ability to describe my thoughts better than I do usually. And he said that I'm a former photojournalist turned data scientist, which is not particularly accurate because I'm not a data scientist per se. I'm a more of a data enthusiast. I would go with data storyteller, and we can go in details a bit later. But Visual Hive was founded about in 2019 out of a couple of long conversations and beers with Nathan, and we're looking at specifically creating, working with data science around visual content. And by visual content, I mean photos and videos, not content by somebody speaking on a stage, because that's another thing that you're going to go into today about how you describe things in technology and how complicated and how many we have many words that mean the same thing. But we got into the pandemic where, apart from having a podcast at 6 a.m. with Nathan, that was very fun to have live at 6 a.m. Don't get me wrong, like we do live today. We've built custom platforms for event professionals. We've done a lot of data visualization, a lot of integrations, and nowadays Visual Hive is back with working on a data-driven AI marketing engine for marketers and events, technically speaking. And we're not that far away in our journey as you are. We've just tested an alpha, we got some good feedback, and now we are working harder to get there.
Congratulations
That's
on
me
that,
on the
Bogdan.
long line.
I think it's a very good and comprehensive introduction. Also, good to know maybe who is this actually for. Ctrl Alt Event. I think we mainly created this for event organizers and company that orchestrate remarkable events, or just those who really like technology, to better understand what the capabilities are, to give you some actionable insights, some case studies here and there, to see what's possible in event management when it comes to technology. It's quite an untapped potential, although a lot of you have scratched the surface in terms of what's possible. We would like to help you take the most out of it. And I think that's the main reason why we started this. But maybe you have something to add there.
Because we are both kind of on the geeky side when it comes to technology, we really enjoy it. But in the same time, we're looking at the practical side of it because we're neck deep, if not way more than that, on a daily basis, not just with what we do, but with everything from consultancy and helping people actually get value out of it. I really liked the idea of, I really like coming up with brands, and the Control Alt event. I really like the Windows restart concept, because we are at a point where events need to be, and not just a restart, but like a forced restart, because events are a very conservative industry. And they're talking here specifically around B2B events. And again, we all say events, but we all come from different sides. Some do weddings, some do parties. We mainly tackle B2B events, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, like 95% of the cases where technology is vital. And that restart needs to happen way more effectively, specifically because we have a lot of advances in technology, computing, and everything else, but also because the people that we serve, the attendees, the ones who create the experiences for, have technology experiences enhanced. They have enhanced technology experiences outside the event, and we have to catch up as an industry. And that's why the Control Alt kind of came with us. Just let's force it to go to where it needs to be.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So, in terms of what people can expect, format boils pretty much down to every Tuesday at 3 p.m. GMT or 4 p.m. CET. So the time it is right now, we'll go live on LinkedIn. That's where we'll unravel different challenges, focus on specific use cases, as I mentioned, but also want to give you the possibility to actually ask questions. I see quite some people in the chat. So very good to see you there. And if you have any specific problems with technology, feel free to also make some suggestions. We are relatively flexible, although we have about 400 different topics that we want to cover in the foreseeable
Yes,
future.
that's what we
So
came up. That's at least what you came up with last night. I didn't really manage to add too much to that.
we'll be around for a while, but
Yes,
always open for suggestions. And if you have specific questions for us regarding the topic we'll be hosting about, then going live on LinkedIn and joining us there is the place to do it. Yeah, pretty much
and
on
yeah,
that point.
apparently you'll also, because we've worked very hard in the last few days, you'll also find us on very soon on TikTok, on wherever you get your podcasts from. So as soon as we finish this, this will be turned into a podcast. But as Marian said, you need, if you want to, if you have any questions regarding the subjects that we're going to talk about each week, jump on, let's have a chat in the questions. We'll try to not just philosophical chats, but actually actual practical examples of what, how you can improve this or that in your life as a professional event. Otherwise, we're not the people to come to if you want to make your life better in any other forms.
Very true. Very true. Well, I think we covered well who we are, why we organized this podcast, who is for, what the format is
Yes.
going to be, what people can expect. So maybe dive a bit deeper into
Yes, that
today's
was my
theme.
cue, right? I missed that. Nathan is going to laugh his ass off. I missed my cue. So apart from everything else, because I'm a data enthusiast, I kind of convinced Marian to give me the chance that on every episode we would have a data visualization example. So we'll try to keep it within the events, and because that kind of drives me to do things, I'll give you the. That's my first episode, so I'll share the first bit of the data visualization. I hope you enjoy this. These are not counters. So first of all, we have to say thank you to Woofy, because Woofy, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to open data and event, is kind of the place to go if you want to have some reliable data and play with it, at least from my geeky side. So we looked here at the Eurofair statistics from 2022. With some side notes, there is no UK because UK is not in Europe anymore, not even according to Woofy, which is frustrating for many reasons, but let's not go into politics. We are going, and these are, we picked up 1016 shows from Woofy's database from the report that they published. This is live. You can go and woofy.org and pick it up and look at it yourself. Not this colorful, slightly better probably. But we looked at how many events did we have in terms of these events. Uh, we looked at the number of companies with individual stands versus the total square meters booked. The idea was to give a little bit more perspective from just the number of 1,016 events, which usually in events we don't do. We usually mainly use counters. So I wanted to put it, everything about data storytelling is put it in context. So on the button here, you'll see the total square meter booked for all these 1,600 events. So you have the number of companies with individual stands, and at the top here you have, if this works, should work at some point. You have Spain, which has the biggest numbers of stands or individual companies that exhibited, but not the biggest number of visitors. Because at the bottom here you have Germany, which has way less firms represented, but a lot more people coming to their events. And at the intersection here, you have Portugal, which had not so many events. You have on the left-hand side here on the top how many events they had, and but they had only about 1,000 firms and 200 over 200,000 visitors. And the big orange block here is Turkey, which had over 8 million visitors, with not so many firms represented. But the fun bit is, if you want to go further in, you can do visitors for each city. So I've picked up here the top 10 cities, where you have on the top right, you have Madrid. At the bottom here, you have Munich. So you have the German efficiency, where they only had 172 companies represented, but they had over 1 million visitors. And in the bottom here, you have Turkey with a lot of cities and a lot of visitors. So, because this is fun, I also wanted to look a little bit more into context. So, I looked at the average price of a bottle of wine in these countries into 2022 and the GDP of those countries in the same year. And as you can see, Finland, which only had one event, unfortunately ranks quite high because wine is very expensive there. And on the other side, Germany sits quite nicely at a decent bottle of wine, but with a big GDP and a lot of visitors. So that's kind of my very fast presentation of data. So I use Power BI. Thank you, Ufi, for the data. And hopefully every episode will have something completely different, but as fun as possible. So if Ufi is interested, I'm not applying for a job, but maybe for a partnership, because they have a lot of data we can play around and we can go into business intelligence. But this hopefully gives you a feeler of what I think when I talk about data visualization. And it's not about how many times people go to the toilet and you have to scan them and you have abruptly 2 million visitors that came to your show or something to that degree. And I'll shut up now.
I love it, and I think I see Salima also says great figures. Thank you for sharing. It is it gives a different dimension to just data that you normally see in the sheet, which doesn't say a lot. But the moment you can visualize it, it doesn't just become more fun, but also you can very quickly get something actionable out of it because in one bird's eye view, you can see that. She asks where to find this information.
Yeah, so if you go
Can
to
you share the
Ufi
link?
website, so I'll share the link in the chat just as I finish speaking, and you go to resources and you can download the reports. Those reports are very contain a lot more information than I put here. For me, the pleasure is just to play and try to tell a story with that data. But you can find a huge amount more information on Ufi website, and they are amazing people. So just go and check it out, and I'll put it in the chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is already a little bit about navigating the future of events. Data is going to play a big role and visualization even more. So, really appreciate you sharing and putting in the hard work of actually visualizing these examples. As Bogdan mentioned, he will put it in the chat now that I'm talking and he can actually focus on typing. Um, Today is also about navigating the future of events and where this industry, as you mentioned, sometimes we feel like we need a hard reset, and part of that is also figuring out where do we then want to go. And I think we prepared a little fun element for today, which is making predictions in terms of what is going to happen in the event industry with technology. More of the fun ones, not per se the ones that are mentioned quite often and that are quite obvious from points of view. But I think you gave this also some good thoughts, Bogdan. What would be
Yes,
your
I did.
first kind of
My
prediction?
first one and my one of my favorites, because I just, due to some recent conversations, is sustainability. And I'm not predicting that events are going to talk about sustainability, because they are going to, and they're going to have shows about it, and we're going to go on and on and on, which is absolutely fabulous and important. My prediction is that by the end of the year, 99% of people will still think sustainability means environment, which is not necessarily true. And my prediction is that nobody's going to come and talk about the economic and social impact that events have, or at least talk about it, but just in the background, because the whole um environment thing is sexier and, again, vitally important, but is not the only one.
All right. I think I can kind of get on board with that one, but I'm very curious to see and hope actually to see more people realizing the other side of it as well. But we're gonna see how that pans out. When I actually was playing around with ChatGPT to get some inspiration for this, it came up with events in space, zero gravity networking sessions. Anyone? And I think at first I had to laugh at it because I was like, that's way too crazy. But then at the same time, you hear, Elon Musk planning to go to Mars and putting quite some steps in that direction. I think it won't be. It definitely will be within our lifetime that we'll be able to travel to a planet and not take several months to get there. Will there be events in space? I think so, and I think it can be very fun. Probably first for like those with a very big budget, not not for us in the beginning stage. But maybe by the end of our lifetime, it will be a bit more affordable, and we'll see more events in space. I would love to see that actually as one of my predictions. Do you have
It
another one
might
to
not be
throw in?
that expensive, because if you take, for example, Davos and you go out of Switzerland, I don't know how much expensive the space can be if you compare that to Switzerland. So it might be way more feasible than we can imagine at this point.
Very true. Very true. We'll see. Time will tell. What is your? Do you have another prediction for us to share as well?
Yes, it's not as fun as going into space, but the what is honestly a prediction is I'm looking forward, and I'm trying to do find an AI that can count how many times people can say video is a king, because I estimate at least 5,374 when it comes to live events and podcasts, and I think it's going to go overboard. But my hope is that it's not going to be just talk; it's going to be a little bit more than talk, and we can make this educational part and link it to the social and economical sustainability bit way better. I'm getting kind of dark here. You weren't very fun with it.
We cover all different parts of the prediction game. It happens. I like. Obviously, we've seen the Vision Pro being released into the wild. Let's put
Hmm.
it like that. I've seen quite some videos of people just tapping around in space with their ski glasses on. I think it's very fun. I see two ways of it, and there's that. I think it was Simpsons that predicted kind of this, where everyone is walking around with that ski glass. I'm curious if we'll see it in events, but I think there is quite a big chance that when this evolves into something more, um, something that you can carry a lot easier rather than having to big ski goggles on your face and being really kept off interacting with people because everyone is looking at you weird. When it becomes more integrated into your self being and you as a person rather than really having a screen in between. I think we can definitely see that in the next 5 years, maybe 10, that we will have the capability that this Vision Pro is bringing to us in a bit more ease form factor, where that will actually add another layer to events where we can have the whole work suite of tools that we normally bring or keep at home. We can actually bring it with us at an event, and that could offer quite a lot of interesting capabilities. So I think we're going there as well.
It would be
Won't
very
take
fun
that
to
long.
see, apart from just seeing them on stands as like very sexy things like coffee. Do you want a coffee or do you want to play with the Vision Pro? But I did see a video this morning which was kind of the epitome of this new technology. Was a guy driving a Tesla truck, self-driving truck. So the truck was driving very slowly on the side, and he was with the Vision Pro playing around in the car at the wheel.
Was that the guy that got arrested?
I don't know if he got arrested, to be honest. I didn't really follow up. The image just stuck in my head, which I found fascinating. We did have a couple of questions. One from David in terms of, is there a new role for event technologists, especially with these predictions that we've made in terms of technology is going to be kind of at the heart of it. And apart from the space bit, because you definitely need an event technologist there, I wouldn't go in space with a company that organizes events that doesn't have an event technologist role, at least a minimum one.
Very true. Very true. No, I think as I mentioned in the chat real quick, like if it doesn't exist yet, then you better make that role within your company, because the more we proceed into the future, the more urgent it gets to have the right coverage for technology and have that knowledge in house, especially if we go to far places like space.
And it's part of what we try to do as well with this, in terms of trying to get as many people as possible in conversating about events and events technology. And just to add very quick to David's point, event technology, and I'll lead you to that into the topic of next week, if that's possible, because we're wrapping up the time. Because event technology is quite a wide range of what you need to do. And from they one of the special things about events is that everybody needs something else or in a different format because they need to fit the whatever they do at that point in time. And event technologists are going to be ideally somebody in a as a generalist because they need to understand a lot of things and know what to pick and where to pick, and then have either relationships with event technology companies that can help quite quickly, or relationships with people like uh, A. who does consultancy on events, with what we try to do when we do consultancy for events, so they can come to specialists to help them. Do you need help with AI? Do you need help with integration? Do you need help with registration? Do you need help with specific bits? But they need to know what to ask for at some point. Paul is here and you can go, do you need help with live captioning in multiple languages? That's a pain in the ass, big pain in the ass, very hard to solve, but you need what to ask for, because if you think it's going to be solved in 3 seconds, it's not going to be solved in 3 seconds. Maybe if now you go to Paul and you can do it, but it's still hard work to get to that point.
Yeah, very true. And I think that's also one of the topics we'll be covering a bit later. Actually, Salima, you said the biggest challenge is to get sponsors and participants over 50 years old to embrace innovation in design and planning. I think that's a very good point, at least at the crossroads where we are right now, where there is that 50-50 kind of new, more tech enabled generation entering the market, but those that don't really feel like they are super tech enabled are still in the workforce as well. Obviously, within 10-15 years, that will kind of solve itself. But at the moment, I think a big part of that is just educating and making sure to translate also in their knowledge and know-how what the capabilities are, but also to make it as quote unquote child friendly, but in this case 50 plus friendly as possible, for them to understand and to embrace it. And I think that's also a perfect segue actually to the topic we'll be covering next week, where in this case we'll focus specifically on event professionals, but it's a good way to explain what we're meaning. Next week we'll actually be talking about a topic that we call From AI to Zapier. Um, and it's mainly about understanding integration terms for event professionals. So what are these terms? Which terms are out there? Which ones are the ones that are essential for you as an event professional to know? But also take that one step further and actually make it actionable. And knowing what a term means is one thing, but understanding what it can do and what implications it has for you and your events, that's another. And I think that's the same translation you need to make when you're talking about 50 plus audience. If you just explain them like, hey, we have this amazing tool, okay, they know it's an amazing tool, but they haven't made the translation yet in terms of what value would it bring them, and don't feel taken by the hand. And we are at least trying to achieve taking event professionals by the hand, and laying a foundation, because in the third episode we'll actually dive deeper into automation and integration, and then it's very handy to have that foundation laid out. So I
So,
think
what's the name of it? Because you came up with a fantastic name, and I really liked it.
from AI to Zapier, understanding integration terms for event professionals. You'll be seeing the event going live probably by tomorrow. So then you have a few days to get it booked in your calendar because you don't want to miss it. It's really the foundation for what we'll be talking about in the future. So it's good to have that kind of A to Z handbook with you. And obviously, if there are any terms that you're unfamiliar with, please bring them to us during the live. Put them in the chat. We'll be more than happy to answer it and dive into it, give you a better actionable insight in terms of what it actually means. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah. We're finishing on time, which is a very high standard bar we need to keep from now on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. For those that are hungry for more, we will be finding ways how we can offer some exclusive content behind the scenes, valuable resources, some vibrant behind the scenes discussions that are not per se going to be here in these live sessions. If that sounds interesting, send either Bogdan or me a direct message. We will kind of create a wait list. So the moment we take that next step after we progressed a few episodes, you'll be the first one to get an invitation to join in. And also good to know, we will be switching from one
Yeah.
profile to another.
So
Today we're going live with
next time it's going
Bogdan.
to be your profile that is going to have the event. So look after merging.
That's correct. So make sure you follow both, either Bogdan or me, which one you're not yet connected with. Make sure to create a connection so you actually get a heads up when we go live. It will be every other week. It will be on another account. So make sure to follow both of us. And yeah, anything else you would like to add before we tune out?
Apart from the fact that we did it, we are live, and thank you very much for everybody who came. And I'm not going to read all the names, but there were way more than I expected, and I'm completely blushed and mildly stressed that we hopefully did a good job, and you're going to come next week. No, just that I'm heading down towards 50, and I think 50s are going to be very tech aware in a couple of years. At least the 50s I know are very
Absolutely.
tech aware. Just make it simple and adding value.
All right, perfect. Salima, be sure to watch out. We will send you a personal invite. That's also possible for us to invite you. So you'll definitely get the invite for the next episode where we dive a bit more into the A to Z. And for everyone else, looking forward to the next one. Thank you indeed very much for joining, and
Yeah,
happy days.
indeed. Have a lovely day and have a lovely week. Cheers.
Bye bye.